So it's finally time we take a look at Outriders, an upcoming third-person RPG shooter that finally seems to do the genre some justice after so many failed attempts, but I've been following it for the better part of the past year and I'm constantly surprised by how complete the experience already looks. The game is also getting a free demo this Thursday, so this is the perfect chance for you to also test it out completely free without any pre-orders or whatever, which is why I thought I would bring you guys in on it and give you all of the necessary info ahead of that. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it and let's jump right into it. I want to start things off with a beta, or well, in this case the demo, since this is actually a fully on demo this time around. Completely free, by the way, you don't have to pre-order the game, and it's also going to be completely available even after the full game launches. So we will talk about what you have access to and the content in just a little bit, but in the meantime it's going to be available both for the current gen and the next gen of consoles, so PS5, PS4 and Series X and Xbox One, and the PC via Steam as well as GeForce Now. Now the installable size is going to be 24 gigs and no preload, as I've said, but because it's going to constantly be available, you're not going to lose too much on that. Now it's also not time limited, by the way, but it does have limited content that you can explore, as it's normal with any of these demos. So you will get access to a prologue and the opening chapter in the early stages of the game. We will get access to the first boss fight, and it's also going to unlock some other side missions and side content after defeating this boss. On top of that, we get access to some exploration. All of the 4 classes as well as their abilities will be available, but there's going to be a level cap of level 7, which is going to give us access to that 4th ability that is going to unlock some really nice cool combat abilities. World tier 5 is also a thing in the demo, and crafting and resources will also be active. One thing to note is that if you're planning to purchase the full game, your progress from the demo will fully transfer on the full version of the game, assuming that you're going on the same version and not on a different platform. Now what makes this game so attractive is the fact that it's going to be a complete experience right from the get-go. So it's not a live service game, it doesn't hold any microtransactions, it's just a one-off purchase, and from that point on you get the full experience. That's pretty much it. It also has co-op, by the way, with up to 3 players, so there's also some incentives to play online with your friends if you have any, or with other people, but at the same time you can also go single player. You're not going to get any downsides to that, and you can also play like completely offline, so that is already a big plus in my book. But I do want to talk about some of the other features, because I think that there's a ton of potential to this game that make it extremely interesting, like especially the class, the mods, and the weapon combinations that exist in this game will definitely hook you up. So let's cover the classes first. You're going to have access to 4 classes in total at the start of the game, both in the demo as well as in the full version of it. So these include the Pyromancer, the Trickster, the Devastator, as well as the Technomancer, each kind of fitting a different role. So I will start with my favorite, which is going to be the Trickster. Now this is going to be a close range kind of hit and run class that also uses abilities that can bend space and time. So what this means is that you can debuff enemies with a lot of slow debuffs, even trap them in temporal anomalies and traps, and this is not just going to slow them down but also enemies' attacks like bullets, which in my opinion looks really cool. It's also a pretty flashy kind of class if you enjoy that also lets you teleport behind enemy lines, like if there's any target out of reach you can teleport behind it and completely take it by surprise. As a Trickster you also get access to a ton of shields, so you're really incentivized to use hit and run tactics, as in go behind enemy lines, take as many enemies as possible, and you will also get protection in the meantime as you're taking them down. Now the next class is going to be the Devastator. This fits more of that tank role for all of you tank enthusiasts out there, so you will have really high survivability and way to protect both yourself as well as your allies. So yeah, this class gets huge boosts to health and armor as you're defeating more and more enemies in close range. But it's not just that, you also get access to some really devastating abilities with really high AoE and ways to apply bleed onto all of your foes. So you get access to an earthquake kind of ability, you get a ton of access to impale types of abilities using that earth spike over there. It's really awesome, but my favorite has to be this gravity leap right here, where you jump in the air, then aim towards a target or a place, enemies and completely wreck everything in sight. It's also awesome because you get this shield that completely stops all incoming bullets, and then if you press that ability again, you can reflect a huge amount of bullets back to the enemies and just like one-shot everybody if you have the skills necessary. Now the next class is going to be the Technomancer. This is the longest range class in the game that also acts as a support, as in it has access to the best healing abilities of all of the 4 classes currently in the game, so you can even play like a leech, for example, and get healed as you deal damage or shoot bullets into your targets. But most important is that you have really awesome offensive and defensive abilities thanks to all of the minions that you can use in combat. Like for example, you can get access to a really awesome turret called the Pain Launcher, and what this does is that it shoots a rocket barrage against the enemies in a pretty large area. But you can also use something like Tools of Destruction to either create a minigun and just mow down enemies like there's no tomorrow, or turn it into a rocket launcher for some really great AoE damage and ways to interrupt bosses. And there's many more in there for the Technomancer, including access to freeze mechanics and toxic debuffs thanks to all of its abilities and minions. So if you're a player like that, you're definitely going to enjoy this. But maybe not as much as you would with a Pyromancer, especially if you enjoy to play that Fire Mage slash Conjurer type of class. So yes, this is a class that works perfectly for players like that. You're going to play at a medium type of range, but you will get lots of abilities to set enemies on fire, immobilize them, and even make them become living bombs to deal huge AoE damage to other foes around them. It's probably not going to be the most mobile of the classes, but at the same time your abilities will work at a longer range, and at the same time you get some really awesome heals as you kill enemies that are under the effect of your burn mechanics. Moving on next, I do want to talk about a really interesting part of the game that actually gets me excited, and that is the progression system and the endgame content, which Outriders seems to have done really well. So the maximum level in Outriders for your character is going to be level 30. As you level up, you will gain access to really awesome active abilities, up to 8 in total for each of the 4 classes in the game, as well as unlocking skill perks that you will further use in that really extensive skill tree. So each of the classes in the game will gain access to a skill tree with dozens of major and minor perks that you can invest points into. And not just that, all of these skill trees will also be split into 3 paths, so you can choose different paths and even intertwine them for some really incredible results. As in, your class can be completely different thanks to its build compared to the one of another player in your party. At the same time, you will also further buff all of that with loot, especially when it comes to armor and weapons, but most important with the mods that you can find and combine on these weapons. So I do want to talk about that as well. So armor is going to be split into different rarities, from the uncommon green ones all the way up to legendary quality, and especially so the legendary quality is going to be the most important, as it gives you access to unique perks that can create some really amazing results. We will talk about these in a different video, but what's cool about these armors and weapons is that they also have unique mods that can come with them, and especially so if you dismantle this gear, you can also gain permanent access to those mods and then further slot them and combine them in your current weapons. Like for example, you can create a really devastating legendary weapon that can both shock and freeze enemies at the same time. Like, how cool is that? Freeze enemies and then hit them with a bolt of lightning at the same time, because you have those really awesome tier 3 mods. Again, we will discuss these in a future video, but in the end, yeah, there's gonna be a ton of stuff to do in the game. Now, as far as the end game content, it comes in the form of expeditions. So these are going to be high-end missions available right after you complete the main story campaign. And what these do is that they provide the highest challenge possible, but at the same time, they also provide the best rewards possible. So difficulty will scale up as you go through the challenges, and you will gain tiers and loot that's going to get much better as you progress through them. There's going to be 15 expeditions in total when the game launches in April 1st, 14 of which are the regular ones, and then there's going to be a 15th one called Eye of the Storm. We have yet to see it, but it's going to be supposedly the most challenging and probably the most rewarding as well. And again, through all of this, you can also play through a co-op or solo. It depends on your playstyle, but you totally have the option for that. On a final note, there's also world tiers tiers, by the way. So there's going to be 15 world tiers, and as you progress through them, you're going to see higher difficulties, but at the same time also way better rewards. And this just covers the surface, by the way. There's even like challenges and achievements that can give you further rewards. There's also like the full game with the campaign and the side missions and a ton of stuff to cover. So all in all, Outriders right now looks like the most complete experience that we've seen in a looter shooter kind of RPG that also has online co-op. So yeah, this is probably gonna be something that we're gonna cover extensively on the channel. So if you're also excited for that, make sure you stay tuned by leaving a like on this video, subscribing for more, and activating that notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.